Hello YouTube. Plotting a story holds a lot of writers back. We usually start with everything but the plot, and once we face the fact that we have to have a process, it becomes very overwhelming and a lot of us just stop writing, period, and it sucks. And everyone is different, so there is no one formula on how to write a book or how to plot something. But also, because of that, on the other side of the coin, we need to keep trying new things to discover what our process is. And there is truth to just doing it, like Nike says, but we also want to make it as easy for ourselves as possible. This is my first YouTube video, and I'm really excited about making it because writing is something I've always been interested in, and I'd love to build a community around other writers who are trying to learn and grow and maybe not even publish a book, but just enjoy the process, or readers too. And just everybody who likes literature. And it's gonna be awesome. And with writing, it usually starts out with everything but the plot. It's really hard to come up with or to be struck by a vision, by the muses. But then you realize if you want this to become an actual story or an actual book or anything, you need to have a plot, and you know that it has potential, but you don't want to fall short of the potential that it has, so you just don't end up writing it. So I think it's really good for us to try out some new things and see if we can actually plot as a tool. Like, we can enjoy it. It can be a good thing. So let's jump into some really easy activities to see how far along they can get us with plotting and see if it makes it a little more fun and enjoyable. Activity number 1. With this one, I want us to take our MC and write or think up what would happen if everything went wrong with your character. For example, let's take one of my characters, Zeke. He is set 1,000 years in the future in a futuristic space regime type world. It's really cool. Anyways, if everything went wrong, first we have to look at his main motivation. For him, his desire is to explore, to go around to different planets, and to learn new things. So what would happen if everything went wrong? If he took his journey away from Earth to Mars, and while he was riding over there, his ship gets hijacked, he gets kidnapped, he gets taken to a planet with alien monsters, and everyone around him dies. And then maybe he is stranded on that planet and he has to build his own ship to get off. And he doesn't even know how to do that really, since he just got off Earth and he doesn't know anything about space travel. And while he's in the process, he loses an arm because he does fibral travel wrong. And as a result, he ends up on a planet whose language he doesn't speak, and he's armless, and it's easy for him to be abused, and he never ends up getting anything he wants, and it turns out awful, and maybe he ends up in a lab run by the government that is so incredibly evil that he loses his will to live. Or maybe that could also motivate him to try to take down this evil government, but in the process, he fails and he becomes an experiment. Now that's really quick, really extreme, really sharp version, but it helps you explore your world in a way that is applicable to the plot. Now moving on, activity number 2. This one is almost harder, but pretty much what we're going to do is reverse number 1. We're going to imagine what is the best possible outcome. What if he got everything he wanted? What if everything went right, or even better than he would or could have wanted? So Zeke travels from Earth to Mars, and maybe he makes some really good friends there, and maybe one of them's incredibly wealthy, and they see his drive and they're like, hey, I'm gonna fly you out to the other galaxy with all the big shots. So they end up going to another galaxy. He's getting to meet all sorts of people in comfort and luxury, and the people in charge of this place put him in a high position in which he can explore other galaxies or planets and also make a ton of money. And maybe while he's traveling to these other places to meet these new peoples and explore these new environments and interact with these new alien creatures, he also meets the love of his life, and maybe he sits back from exploring and is like, actually, I just want to fall in love for a little bit. And that's pretty magical. And once again, this is exploring your world in new ways, but in a way that you could really deepen or heighten the tension in your plot. Now, these are just the first 2. They're very general. It should take like a few minutes to do them. And you could do them over and over again. can try it, think about them. You don't even have to write them down. But pretty much, it's just a really simple, I wouldn't say world building activity, but it kind of is. And I think it's really good for seeing where your plot could go. Activity number 3. This one is a little more hands-on. We are going to be creating a visual outline in around 5 minutes. It shouldn't even take that long. I mean, it could take longer or less time for you. But all you need is some pen and a piece of paper. And here's what's going to happen. First, you're going to, at the bottom of your page, write out a bunch of numbers. These are going to represent your chapters. And it's not necessary, but I think it really helps visually. So I wrote 1 through 24. And then we're going to write down a couple ideas that we really want our readers, or ourselves even, to think about and understand better. So maybe I want to think about or contemplate death, or I want my readers to think about how different class systems can be from planet to planet, and how humanity will remain evil no matter what technology is in our hands. So I'll write down, let's say, 10 different ideas or questions that I want to provoke. And then we're going to make 3 categories. We're going to have physical, psychological, and philosophical. I went ahead and assigned these each a color to make it nice and pretty. And I'm literally just going to come up with, I'm just going to write wavy lines on this page. It doesn't have to be exact, but I'm just going to say, I'm going to start with psychological and say, Zeke's going to have a big moment when he first leaves his home planet, and then maybe he's going to have another big moment when. How about when he is thrust into a culture he knows nothing about, that's not necessarily on Mars, but in that colony that kidnapped him. And I may not be going with kidnapped, but I want him to end up in this group of foreign people that he's forced to learn about and do all this stuff with, and it helps him grow a lot as a person. So that's another point of contention. And then we'll go to our next point, and then our next point throughout the story. And I had, I think, 4 psychological main points, and we're just doing little waves. It's like a clothesline. I don't know where I saw this, but I saw this somewhere online. In the 3 categories I got from Reddit. Shout out Reddit. And then go to the physical plot. For mine, it's pretty easy. I'm just doing location to location as the big jumps in my physical plot. So, he goes to this planet, it's going to be higher. Then to the next planet, it goes back up. Next planet goes back up. And if he goes to a place that's really dangerous or something, the tension would increase. So I would put it higher up. So these points are high points of tension. And then naturally the story will fall back down once it's over. And then it will rise back up at the next point. With the philosophical line, I definitely did this wrong the first time. And I kind of just repeated the psychological. But I would think this one would be more about what you want to provoke in the reader. So maybe at this point you're learning about the character, whether they're a good person or a bad person, and then maybe they're forced into this horrible scenario and they make a bad decision. I feel like that would be a big point where we can evoke a lot of questions for our readers. But this category, I definitely messed up, and you can do with it what you will. But yeah, those are the 3 main lines. And then at the bottom, just below all of these swooping, beautiful, colorful, gorgeous lines, I put some more random ones with subplots, different ideas, and you can just look up and be like, okay, so we have my character, for example, lands on this foreign planet. What would be a subplot that makes sense? Maybe he meets somebody that he really likes, and he's never been exposed to this many people, and he falls in love with someone when he lands on this new planet. And then that can open up a whole new plot line for romance, betrayal, all sorts of stuff. And then maybe when he goes to a dangerous planet, he's put into life-threatening situations with people he doesn't know. And through that, he is responsible for their lives, and he grows as a person. And it's another subplot with human connection and all sorts of stuff. And obviously, we just threw these lines over these chapters. But we can look at it now, and as we're writing, we could follow these lines. We can start writing and be like, okay, for the first 4 chapters, maybe I'm trying to get him from Earth to Mars and show what's happening there. And then from chapters 4 till 11, he's not going to be at another planet, but we have these little subplots that make sense to go in here. And it's really general, but it will help so much just to get this on a piece of paper. And you should be doing this right now, actually, because it takes no time. and it can help so much. And that is the last activity. These are all pretty short, and I think it will really help you guys out. All right, going through these helped me so much with my story, just the one that I was using as an example. I had literally nothing for it, and going through these, I feel like I could write a good amount every day, or not a good amount, just a little bit, and that's all that counts really, is the consistency. But anyways, I hope it helps you as well, because it really did me, and I would love for other writers to benefit from what I've learned. And this is my first video once again, so thank you so much for watching. And I want to keep doing this, so definitely support me if you can. And please leave your thoughts below. I want to talk to people. I want to see what other people think. I want to get better at making videos. I want to get better at writing. So any thoughts or concerns or questions are welcome. And yeah, just like, comment, and subscribe, hopefully. And that's all. Bye.